Doom 2016 came out to large critical reception, getting praise for being one of the best shooter campaigns in a while, and being unique compared to every other shooter coming out at the time. And this high praise wasn't unwarranted. I recently went back to finish Doom 2016 to get prepared for its sequel, and I really enjoyed it. So it's not an understatement to say that the fine team over at id Software had some pretty high expectations to try to meet. After all, how do you improve upon perfection? What's up everyone? My name is Sebastian, and today, I'll be sharing my thoughts on Doom Eternal. First things first, I will be making some comparisons between Eternal and Doom 2016, so if you want to know my full thoughts on Doom 2016, go check out the video I made on it, and come back to this one when you're done. Now that we got that shameless plug out of the way, let's get into it. The game starts and some time has passed since we last saw Doom Guy, or, Doom Slayer if you want to be all technical. This time around, it's hell on earth, as some angelic alien-looking lady called the Khan Maker plans on sacrificing mankind in order to transfer Argent energy back to her realm and keeping herself alive. Or, I don't know, something like that. I'll be honest, I didn't really fully understand what was going on sometimes. Like, sometimes a character would show up and I'd be all, who the fuck is that? Then not get an explanation and kind of move on with my life. That's not to say that the parts I did get weren't cool. There's some legitimately hype moments in the story, especially if you're a big fan of the original Doom games, which I never played, but I can still appreciate the story references that were made to those games. Something that I really want to point out though, is the inclusion of cutscenes. Doom 2016 was very light on story, featuring almost no cutscenes. You can tell it really wanted to give more attention to the criticism the last game had for having a forgettable story. And the cutscenes here are all really cool, and making Doom Guy seem like even more of a badass, and giving him a bit more backstory. And if you do want more context and lore, there's a lot of codex entries that you can collect for it, which I didn't read because, let's be honest, the last thing I want to do in a game all about fast-paced demon murder is stop to read. But I'm sure these say some cool shit in them that'll probably give you a better understanding of the story than what I have. I'd say the actual plot isn't anything too impressive, but definitely has some hype moments. And again, I really appreciate the presentation and overall effort id put into giving this game more plot than Doom 2016. Alright, now let's get into the real reason you'd want to play Doom Eternal, and that's blasting some demonic ass looking motherfucker in the face. I'll just go ahead and say this now, the gameplay of Doom Eternal takes the formula from Doom 2016 and improves upon it in every single way. Doom 2016 featured levels with plenty of platforms, ledges, bounce pads, and portals for you to quickly move around the room as you fight the demonic presence. Doom Eternal takes this and amps it way the fuck up. The areas where you fight demons are significantly larger this time around, and include more methods of traversal. Bounce pads launch you higher, they added dash mechanics which you could also use as an air dash, there's a bunch of holes sticking out of walls that you can swing off of, and the super shotgun has what's called a meat hook, which is essentially a grappling hook that lets you pull yourself towards enemies. Moving around levels during combat is a lot of fun. The game gives you so many more options on how to get into a fight or quickly back away when you're close to death. And all the new added mechanics make for a lot more time in the air, letting you basically fly and zip around the level, completely demolishing anything that stands in your way. I swear this game makes Doom 2016 look like the slowest game ever made in comparison. You're constantly moving around, and if you stand still for too long, you'll quickly be surrounded and overwhelmed, usually leading to death. Surprisingly, there's a fair bit of strategy to the way you engage in combat. Most enemies have a weak point or specific method to killing them. Sure, you can still shoot the fuck out of them, but then you run the risk of keeping a strong enemy alive while you get overrun by the smaller ones. Enemy weak points include shooting off their weapons, limiting the attacks that they can do on you, or shooting at a specific point that'll either instantly kill them or set them up for a glory kill. Some weapons are also significantly better at taking out weak points than others, so if you didn't find yourself switching weapons too often in Doom 2016, Doom Eternal gives you a reason to do it, as each one can be more effective on certain enemies. As you fight, odds are you're gonna get shot at. A lot. Luckily, there's plenty of health and ammo laying around. However, if you don't have time to look for it, don't worry, because the glory kills and chainsaw make a return. Like the first game, glory kills are done after staggering an enemy, and performing them gives you a really cool animation and makes the enemies drop health. Chainsaw kills can be done at any time if you have enough fuel to kill the enemy with it, and doing it makes enemies drop ammo. Doom Eternal also adds a new mechanic, which allows you to quickly gain armor. The Flame Belch is a small flamethrower Doom Guy keeps on his shoulder. Using it will light enemies on fire, and damaging them while they burn causes them to drop armor. Honestly, I rarely used the Flame Belch during my playthrough, that is up until the end where it really came in handy. So I can see this as a mechanic that's super useful on harder difficulties. Another new mechanic the game introduces is the Blood Punch. Basically, Doom Guy becomes Thanos and obtains an Infinity Gauntlet. As you perform glory kills, you charge up the Blood Punch. Once charged up, you'll use the Power Stone to destroy enemies in a single punch. All of these mechanics come together in a way where you're constantly trying to think a couple steps ahead, keeping track of your resources, trying to find good opportunities to get ammo, health, or armor off an enemy, all while trying to hit the stronger enemy's weak points and fighting back the hordes of weaker enemies that also want you dead. The first game's combat was engaging in a way that it was fun to move around, kill shit, and survive. This game does that too, but adds more layers on top of it, making the already engaging combat of the first game even more engaging and making you think about how you want to go about each fight. All the weapons are back and continue to feel just as good as you remember. Just like last time, you could also unlock mods for them by finding these little robot dudes in the levels. And the mods can be upgraded using points you gain by engaging in combat. But the upgrades don't stop there. Doom 2016 had a lot of ways to make your Doom guy even more badass. And like pretty much everything else in this game, Doom Eternal takes that and goes way further with it. Not only can you upgrade weapon mods, you can also find these little totem things in levels that let you upgrade either your health, ammo, or armor capacity, similar to the first game. What makes this different though is once you get both of the upgrades that are linked together, you also get a bonus passive ability. You can also add upgrades to your suit like in the first game, but again, this game adds more to it, giving you way more abilities from the upgrades, like faster cooldowns for both your dash or the flame belch, or being able to throw 2 grenades before needing to recharge them. These are just a few of the upgrades available for the suit, but as you can see, there's a lot more of them. And finally, we have rune upgrades, which are really cool abilities that more directly affect the actual gameplay. Adding things like slowing down time as you shoot while you're falling, being able to go into a glory kill from much further away, which is really useful when you desperately need health. You can even make the game slow down and give you one more chance when you're 1 bullet away from death, letting you desperately try to save yourself. You definitely feel the effects of these upgrades as each one makes you feel stronger and stronger. And of course the power-ups make a return. However, I might have just sucked at finding them, but I do feel like they were fewer and farther between than in the first game. Like I only ever got Berserk mode once in my whole playthrough. If there are actually less power-ups and levels, I don't really see this as too much of a loss, since they've given you so many more mechanics to play with. When you're not in combat, you explore these amazing environments. One of my small complaints from the first game was that it seemed like you just kinda walked through a hallway before getting locked into a room with a demonic presence, where you have to kill everything for the door to unlock and then repeat the cycle. And for the most part, all you were really looking at were these grey walls of the UAC facility, or a bunch of flat red dirt on Mars. The coolest environments to look at were the ones in Hell, but even then, they felt kinda small. Doom Eternal addresses this and gives you some really impressive backgrounds and levels. It's the kind of thing where you'll be walking and see some massive mech stabbing a demon way in the background and think to yourself, holy shit, what the fuck is that? Then towards the end of the level, you're standing on it. It's great sense of scale, and the environments feel way more diverse and interesting to look at than the bland walls of the UAC. As far as gameplay goes here though, you basically still explore until you get trapped with a bunch of demons. But this game does a way better job at making the loop feel less obvious, by giving you a much larger area to fight demons in, which makes it less obvious that you're basically trapped in a room until you kill everything like in the first game. And if you did like the more close quarters fights and feeling trapped, don't worry, because there's still plenty of areas like that too. Breaking up the combat is platforming. Now the first game had a bit of jumping between relatively far platforms or jumping up towers, but Doom Eternal has a legitimate emphasis on actual platforming. You have to time jumps, air dashes, swings, and they even added wall climbing. I personally really like these segments. They were a really nice break and change of pace from the constant demon slaughter, and I found these slower moments a lot more interesting and fun than in Doom 2016, where I'd be walking down a hallway and thinking, come the fuck on, I haven't shot anything in a while. Last thing I quickly want to mention about level design is that they added environmental hazards. Things like flamethrowers, cannons, electricity, weird, annoying purple goop. For the most part, these things don't really do much damage if they hit you, but they're still a fun little obstacle to try to avoid, and even more fun when you get to use them to kill demons. Except the goop. The goop sucks. Also wait, speaking of things that suck, there's a level that has a lot of underwater swimming puzzles, and this shit sucks too. You can't see shit underwater, and it only gets worse when you're dying, and the screen starts flashing red. Add this to the list of shit water levels. The presentation of the game is really good. I already mentioned that the cutscenes and environments look amazing and add a lot to the overall story, lore, and world of Doom. The game overall looks really good, and when you're not blown away looking at the amazing atmosphere, you'll be amazed when you blow away chunks of flesh and meat off of enemies. It's a really cool detail that enemies actually take battle damage that I really appreciated. Another thing I really liked was the Fortress of Doom. In Doom 2016, you just load in level to level. In Doom Eternal, after completing most of the missions, you'll come back to Doom Guy's weird castle spaceship thing called the Fortress of Doom. This acts as a sort of hub where you can do stuff like get upgrades or go into a training room where you can practice combat with no consequence for failing. There's also plenty of doors to unlock using sentinel batteries, and behind these doors are things that you can use towards the upgrades that I mentioned. But there's also some pretty cool alternate costumes that you can wear. The biggest prize that you can unlock in the Fortress of Doom is a weapon of ultimate destruction that gives even the BFG a run for its money. I won't show it here because I don't really know if this counts as a spoiler or anything, but the way you unlock it is by completing 6 Slayer gates that are hidden in missions and earning a key. But for the most part, the main purpose of the Fortress of Doom is mission select. From here, you can choose when to start the next mission or choose to replay one to try to collect whatever you missed. I really like the Fortress of Doom. There's a lot of cool Easter eggs and references to past games, and just generally funny things to find in it. Plus, when you pick a mission, it opens a Crash Warp style portal. And I just kinda wanted to take this excuse to mention Crash Warped in a video, because I fucking love that game. But hey, let's get back to talking about Doom Eternal, alright? The soundtrack kicks just as much ass as the first game. It's the same badass guitar riffs you've come to expect, which perfectly sets the tone for ripping a demon's head off. I love the soundtrack for these games, but with that said, I do feel like the Doom Eternal and Doom 2016 soundtracks are pretty interchangeable. Like, they could have used the exact same soundtrack with no new songs, and I probably wouldn't have noticed. Doom Eternal also features a couple other fun little modes you can try out. Say you're one of these complete crazy people and didn't think Ultra Nightmare was hard enough, well, it has just the thing for you. You can play this game in what's called Extra Life mode. Throughout the campaign, you find a bunch of 1-ups that'll instantly revive you when you die. Normally, if you run out of 1-ups, you'll have to restart from the last checkpoint. However, after choosing Extra Life mode, you then choose a difficulty, and now throughout your playthrough, if you run out of lives, it's game over, and you'll have to restart from the very beginning. The game also has master levels, which are harder remixed versions of the campaign's levels, which is pretty cool if you want to mix things up a bit. There aren't many of them as of the time of me making this video, but it does say that they're going to be adding more. Finally, we have multiplayer. The multiplayer in Doom Eternal consists of what's called Battle Mode. In this game mode, it's 2v1, as one player plays as Doom Guy, and he has to go up against a team of 2 other players playing as demons. Like I said in my Doom 2016 video, I am not a multiplayer guy, but I played this for a bit anyway just to be able to talk about it. I criticized the Doom 2016 multiplayer for losing the fast-paced action of the single player, and the firefights against other players being less interesting. However, Doom Eternal's battle mode actually seems like it could be pretty cool. I'm terrible on multiplayer games, so I was completely ass at it, but I mean, they actually made this feel as fast and engaging as the single player, so I can genuinely see people having a pretty good time with this. I don't know how they did it, man. id Software knocked this game out of the fucking park. They took everything that made Doom 2016 great and amplified it to another level. Literally every single aspect of this game is an improvement to Doom 2016, which is a very impressive thing to pull off, since Doom 2016 was already considered one of the best shooter campaigns ever. In my Doom 2016 video, I mentioned wanting to replay it, but probably just ending up playing Doom Eternal instead. And now I can confirm that. If I'm ever in the mood to play Doom Eternal is the way to go, because it is by far the superior experience. I absolutely love Doom Eternal, but now I want to know what everyone else thinks. Head down to the comments of this video and let me know what you thought of it, or if you're interested in picking it up. Also, feel free to leave me any feedback or suggestions for games that you want to see me check out in the future. I really hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, I'd appreciate a like, sharing it with your friends, and subscribing if you aren't already. I hope you have a great rest of your day and or night, depending on when you watch this video, and with all that said, that's it for me for now, and I'll talk to you all next time.